live streams on both Instagram. My Instagram is just my name, Dre Baldwin, and on Facebook/Work on Your Game right now. While I am here in Breakfast with Champions, everybody knows our live programming here starts at 5 a.m. Make sure you're going to bwcdaily.com so you are up to date on our events, articles from the host, and a whole lot more. And again, as Mary Lynn said, motivation, education, and inspiration, where everybody has a seat at the table. So today, what are we going to talk about? Today, let me think about it. Okay, here's what we'll talk about. We're going to talk about expanding your marketing efforts. In other words, getting your name out there. And I'm going to, first of all, let me quickly introduce myself for those of you who are not familiar with me, and I'll tell you where this topic came from, and I'll tell you where it's going. Then I'm going to take you there. All right, then I'll recap where I took you, and then we will open the floor for conversation. That's what we're going to do for the next 58 minutes. If everybody is good with that, let's get to it. So first of all, my name is Dre Baldwin. Some know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete, author of 33 books, done 4 TEDx talks, created this whole brand called Work on Your Game, where what we do here is actually really simple. All I do is take the mental tools, strategies, and systems to help athletes get to the top 1% in the sports world. And I've created a system that translates all those tools over from the sports world into the business world to help professionals like yourselves do one specific thing, actually 3 specific things. Perform at a higher level. Number 2, be more consistent in your performance, because to be a pro, you got to do it all the time, not just when you feel like it. And number 3, to make more money, because even though you might theoretically say, hey, I would do my job for free because I love it that much, you wouldn't really do it for free because they weren't paying you. You wouldn't be working there. So how do you make more money in what you're doing in business? That's what we do here at Work on Your Game. Today, we're going to talk specifically about marketing and expanding your marketing efforts, and also about how do you get clear on who you want to market to, because not everybody needs to be getting your message. Not everybody's even interested in your message. Not everybody deserves to hear or have your message, because what you offer to the world ain't for everybody. And that applies to each one of us individually. There's somebody out there for everybody, but everybody is not for everybody, if you get what I'm saying. So where this is coming from, I've talked about, I don't know if I said it here on BWC, but one thing I talk about is anytime you're trying to get your name and your message out there, I use what we call the ICE method, ICE. And that's an acronym. It stands for 3 things. Number 1, identify. You're identifying the problem that you can solve in the marketplace. If you want to do any type of business, I don't care if you are a full-time employee, if you are a side hustler, or you're a full-time entrepreneur, anywhere in between those, first thing you have to do is identify a problem that you can solve in the marketplace, because nobody will give you money if you're not solving a problem. Second thing is you must communicate to the world that you actually can solve the problem. And again, this applies to everyone. So if you're trying to get a job, what do you have to communicate? You have to communicate to the employer. It's like, hey, you need someone to fill this role. I can fill that role. Here's my resume. Here's my LinkedIn page. Here's my application for the job. You have to communicate to the world that you can actually solve their problem. If you're an entrepreneur, of course you have to do this. You let the world know that you have a course or a book or a program or a whatever that can solve a problem that they have. I heard Mary Lynn was talking a lot about 75 Hard. I think one of the main problems that 75 Hard solves is helping people get more self-disciplined and self-accountable, amongst other things. But you have to communicate that to the world. So if the creator of 75 Hard did not let people know that he had it, then you all couldn't do it. So that's the communication part. And the third thing is the exchange. What is the exchange? The exchange is the point where they get something and you get something. Usually, if we're talking business, this means the exchange of money. You give me some money, I'll give you my book. You give me the money, I'll give you my course. You give me the money, I'll give you these cupcakes or this hot dog and this soda. So there's the exchange. Usually the identifying part is, some people will call this market research. The communication part, we call this marketing. That's where we're going to focus on today. And the exchange part, that's the selling. And marketing and selling are not the same things. They are connected, but they are not the same things. The selling, or closing, some of you may call it, is when the exchange happens, because you can market all day, but if you are not able to create an exchange, then you're not going to make any money. And the people who you're trying to help don't actually get anything, because they never get your thing because they didn't give you the money for it. So what we're going to talk about here today is, first of all, I'm going to break this segment up into 2 parts. First, we're going to talk expanding your marketing efforts. In other words, getting your communications out there more to more of the right people, and doing this in a more consistent way. I'm going to talk about not only the what, but the why of this. And then we're going to talk this concept that I created. I'm going to take credit for this. I don't know if anyone ever said it before, but I'm going to own it. It's called rejection marketing. Now, you heard of attraction marketing, right? When you do things to attract certain people into your world. Then we're going to talk rejection marketing. What do you do to reject the wrong people out of your world? Because I was talking about this actually with a coaching group that I have going right now. So we're going to discuss that in the second half of this segment. And then hopefully, as I always say, I'll leave some time for some open discussion at the end of this segment. So since I want to leave some time for the open discussion, let me get out of the intro. Let's get right to it. So let's talk expanding your marketing efforts. Now, if you've listened to me talk about marketing at all, you may have heard me mention that your main business is marketing and selling everything that you do, not necessarily the creation of the thing, but the marketing and the selling of the thing. And one thing that I tell entrepreneurs a lot, and this has been a focus for myself and also entrepreneurs that I work with, is that you need to really look at how much time you're spending creating new things versus how much time you spend marketing your things. One challenge that many entrepreneurs have, especially in the world that we're in now, when it's so easy to create new stuff, it's very easy to write your own book. It's very easy to create a new blog post or article, or to launch a podcast, or to have a course or a program. And this is why so many people have them. The challenge is that many people go from creating one thing to creating the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and they don't spend enough time, resources, energy, attention, or focus, or even money marketing the last thing that they created. Therefore, you're not squeezing as much juice as you could out of the last thing before you move on to the next thing. And then you may start to think, okay, well, none of my things are selling. Well, that's because you're not actually selling them. You're not marketing them. You're not putting enough emphasis or energy into actually selling the thing that you've created. So today, what I'm going to share are some principles and ideas for expanding your marketing efforts of whatever you have going on, regardless of your product or service. All right. These are, again, mindsets and principles. So it doesn't matter what you do professionally, what you're offering, what you're selling, who you're selling it to. These can be applied to what you're doing. First point, number one, your consumers are not annoyed by relevant marketing messages. That word relevant is the key word of this sentence. Relevant marketing messages. People in your audience actually appreciate a relevant marketing message. And I'll explain what I mean by this. And this is going to help debunk some false beliefs that some people have about marketing. There are many times when I, as a consumer, on the consumer side of things, because we're all both producers and consumers, at least those of you who are selling stuff. There are many times that I'll receive multiple messages. And when I say multiple, I mean a lot, about a certain product, an event, or a service that I personally have no intention of buying. Like, I know I'm not going to this event, but I keep getting their emails. I know I'm not buying this product, but I keep getting the messages about it. I know that I'm not signing up for this course, but they keep texting me about it. There are many times I get a bunch of messages about these things. I have no intention of buying, but I don't get annoyed by the fact that they send me a bunch of messages. You know why? Because there are circumstances under which maybe I would buy that product or service, or maybe next year I might go to that event, or maybe in a month I might still buy that book. It's just not right now. Right now I'm not going to buy it. But at the same time, I like seeing that message, because the person who is selling it to me or offering it to me, at some point, they might say the right word or offer the right incentive that does push me over the edge and get me to click, to buy, to register, to say yes, whatever it is that they're asking. So the message is still relevant to me, because at some point I may be inclined to move on it. I'm just not inclined to move on it right now, or this year, or this month, or whatever the situation may be. The only marketing propositions that annoy me are the ones that come from people with whom I have no intention of ever buying anything from under any circumstances. So if I know I'm never going to buy anything from you, you send me a marketing message, one email is too much, and I'll unsubscribe and get out of that world, because I know I'm never going to buy anything from that individual. But if I know I may buy something from you at some point, I don't mind you marketing to me, even if I'm saying no 99 times out of 100, because I'm waiting for that 100th time when I actually am going to buy something. Everybody get what I'm saying? See, the ones that I don't want to buy from, those get marked as spam, deleted, unsubscribed. I'll give you an example. So everyone here is familiar with the department store Nordstrom, right? Everybody familiar with Nordstrom? Okay, so I'm a Nordstrom customer. I bought from Nordstrom. I don't buy from Nordstrom a ton, but I have bought from Nordstrom in the past. I will buy from Nordstrom in the future. I don't know. Last time I bought something from Nordstrom was probably several months ago. Usually I will shop for dress clothing there, suits, shoes, things like that. So Nordstrom, the department store. If any of you is on Nordstrom's email list, and you can put it in the chat if you are. Because if you are on Nordstrom's email list, you know how much Nordstrom markets. I get 2 or 3 emails from Nordstrom every single day, every day. And one thing that Nordstrom does not do, so any of you who knows anything about marketing segmentation, if you want to go try to get Nordstrom as a client, you probably get a nice check for that. One thing they do not do is they do not segment their list out based on who the person is and what they buy. Because I get emails from Nordstrom. They're telling me about the dresses that they have for women. I just seen this email this morning. There's like 8 dresses for women. They should know that I'm a man. They can see what I bought in the past. I bought dress shoes. I bought suits. And they probably know that I'm a male, but they send their marketing message to everybody, regardless of who it's going to, which can kind of be annoying for some customers. But as a marketing person myself, I don't mind looking at their messages. And at the same time, it doesn't bother me that much that they're marketing me stuff that I wouldn't buy, even if I was in the market for buying stuff, because I am a customer of Nordstrom. So many of the emails Nordstrom sends, I look at the subject line and I see that they're marketing spring dresses for women. I don't even look at the email. I just mark it as read and let it go. But I don't mind receiving the message. Why? Because I'm a Nordstrom customer. I'm one of their customers, so I don't mind them marketing to me. And at some point, again, I know I'm going to give Nordstrom more money. So I don't mind them sending me a message. What does this all have to do with all of you? What it means is the people in your audience do not mind you marketing to them, again, about your book or your course or your program or your retreat or your event, if they are actual buyers. Again, they might not be able to make it to your next one. They might not be able to buy your course right now. Maybe they don't have the money to invest in your program right now. But if they intend to at some point in the future and they like your stuff, even though they can't engage right now financially, or they can't make the move, whatever it is you're trying to get them to do. Maybe you have a 5-day challenge coming up. Doesn't even cost money, but they can't commit to your 5-day challenge because they're going on vacation, so they're not signing up. They don't mind you sending the message because they want to hear your message. They want to hear you sell them on it. They want to see what you have to say about it because they know at some point in the future they will engage with you. What is the point of this first point? Is that you cannot market too much to people who actually want to hear from you. That's point number 1. Let's move on to point number 2. Today's topic is expanding your marketing efforts. Number 2, increase your frequency. Now, this is something that some individuals, let's say a Nordstrom, or any of you who's on the list of, let's say a guy like Grant Cardone, you don't have to tell them this, but many of you need to hear this. Increase the frequency of your marketing. Understand something. Many of your messages do not get through to the target. In other words, people did not see the text message that you sent. They did not read the emails that you've been pushing through. They maybe opened it, but they didn't actually read it. And they didn't actually click on the link, so they don't even know what you're offering or how much it costs. You should assume that every marketing message you send out, most of your audience did not see it. Assume that most of your marketing messages were never seen. We all know on social media how the algorithm works these days. Those of you who've been around long enough know how it used to work. That if you posted something on social media, everybody who was following you or liking you or connected to your page or whatever it happened to be would eventually see it because everything in the feed was chronological. It's not like that anymore. Now it's algorithm based and it's based on whatever the algorithm thinks is relevant. So you might post something, and if you have 10,000 followers, maybe only 1,000 of your followers ever even had that post show up in their feed. And we know Facebook does this. They only show it to a small percentage. At least Facebook is honest about it. We're only going to show this to a small percentage. If you want to show this to more people, give us $10. You want to show it to even more than that, give us $20. You want to show it to more, give us $50. They're at least letting you know that they are throttling how many people who have already said, I want to see everything that Monica posts. I want to see everything Christina posts. I want to see everything David Hill posts. I want to see everything Rachel says. They still will not let your message go through to everybody who has already said they want to see your stuff unless you give them money. And again, at least they're honest. They're honest liars about the whole situation is what we call it. You should not assume that anybody saw your message. And if they didn't take action on it, you should assume that they didn't take action because you didn't give them a strong enough reason to do so. This is your mindset as a marketer. This is your mindset as a salesperson. So assume that people either didn't see your message or they didn't really get the message enough such that you need to tell it to them again. You need to send them more than one message for the same idea. And depending on who you ask in marketing, somebody needs to be exposed. And this includes ourselves as consumers. We need to be exposed to a message at least 7 times before we're willing to take action on it. First of all, you might need to be exposed 7 times before you even notice what the message actually is. And then a few more times after that before we decide to actually read it and understand it. Then a few more times after that before we decide to actually do something and take the action that the call to action is asking us to take. All right, this is why you got to continue to market. So you can't post something on Facebook one time and say, well, I posted on Facebook about my event, but nobody signed up for a ticket. Well, they didn't even see it. They literally may not have seen it. It may not have even shown up on their feed. They may have noticed it, but they browsed straight through it. Or they may have noticed it, but it wasn't a strong enough call to action for them to go do something, or they didn't hear it often enough for them to move. Again, how many of you, put the number 1 in the chat, if you have ever had to tell a human being something more than one time before they actually did it? Any of you ever had that situation? You had to tell another human something more than once before they did it. And then think about how many times you had to tell them that thing before they did it. It was something useful for them that they needed to do that actually helped them when they finally did it. But the first time you told them, did they do anything? No. First time you told them, they probably didn't even hear you, let alone did they didn't ignore you. They weren't trying to be rude. They just didn't notice. They got other things going on. Human beings have a whole lot of other things going on in their mind besides waiting for you to sell them something or promote something or market something. This is why you got to give them the same message over and over and over and over again before they take action on it. The challenge that many entrepreneurs and salespeople have is that you get bashful about sending your message more than once because you think you are quote unquote annoying people or marketing too much or selling too much, or people are going to be bothered because you're sending too much of the same message. Listen, they didn't even notice. I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody reply to a message that I sent. And this might be the 7th or 8th time that I talk about the exact same offering. And they reply to the message and they say something like, well, and I say, well, what is it that got you, to respond or to buy or to sign up or whatever it is? They said, well, I saw your message. And the first thing that I'm thinking when I say that is like, did you see the other 7 that I sent before the 8th one that you finally clicked on? They never even noticed it. They didn't even see it. It went straight past them. And this is how human beings are these days, because we are distracted by so many different messages and so many different things happening in our world. And this distraction is only growing. So all of us as marketers, we have to have the mindset of understanding that we have to continually put our message in front of people in order for it to get through to them. They are not going to get it just because you said it one time. The people who get your message the first time you send it, consider that an exception to the rule. So when you talk to the people who do respond to your message, again, you'll notice they only noticed the one message that they replied to. It's not like they saw it 5 times and said, all right, let me click on it now that Dre sent this message 5 times. No, the first 4 never even happened in their minds. Okay. Remember that people are not thinking about your stuff. They're thinking about their stuff. Your job as a marketer is to interrupt their train of thought or whatever they were thinking about at the right time with the right message that gets their attention to pay attention to your stuff. And understand, you may have the perfect message and the perfect thing that could really help them change their lives. But if you don't catch them at the right time, they won't catch it, even though they need it. Again, let me ask this question. Put the number 2 in the chat. If you have ever told somebody something that they absolutely needed, that would absolutely help them, but they didn't quite get that what you were telling them would help them a lot, and you had to tell them more than once before they finally realized, oh, damn, I'm glad you gave me that advice. Thank you for sharing that with me. And you're thinking to yourself, I told you that 30 days ago. I told you that 3 weeks ago. I told you that 3 years ago. You didn't hear it then, but now you're hearing it. Like, did you not hear it the first 10 times that I told you that? We've all had that happen, right? And all of us have had somebody do it to us as well. And we're like, damn, thank you for, you tell somebody that. Thank you for telling me that. That's really helpful. That's really useful. That advice you gave me. And they're saying to themselves, yo, I gave you that same advice 2 years ago. You just now noticed it, but I gave you that advice a long time ago. We all have that happening. So you need to notice that it happens with you. Notice that it's happened with other people who you talk to on a personal level, and understand that this is the same thing that's happening with the people that you're marketing to. You have to give them the message over and over again. And again, even if it's perfect for them, you have to catch them at the time that they are open to noticing, open to hearing, open to receiving your message, because a message could be perfect for somebody, but if they're not ready to receive it, they won't get it. But your job as a marketer, again, is the communication part. Your job as a marketer is to make sure they get it, which means if you need to send that same email or you need to market to that same person 17 times for them to do what they need to do to move themselves forward and also to serve you as a business owner, then that's exactly what you do. Again, it's your duty and moral obligation to help people do for themselves what they may not be so apt to do on their own. Because if everybody could do everything on their own, then we wouldn't really need salespeople. We would just need, somebody just stand at the register and just collect the money. But we are salespeople and we are marketers because we need to go out and entice people and move them to do things that they otherwise never would do on their own. That is our jobs. That's why sales is the oldest profession in the world. It's also why it's the highest paid profession in the world. All the highest paid people in the world are salespeople on some level. So you need to be prepared to reach out more than once for the same thing. Point number 3, we're talking about expanding your marketing efforts. Number 3, think about marketing more than you're thinking about it right now. Understand that energy flows where focus goes. In other words, whatever we are thinking about, usually that's where our efforts go. That's where our energy goes. That's where our money goes. That's where our time goes. That's where our attention goes. So my point here is for you to just think more about how am I marketing and promoting my stuff, whether your stuff is a $50,000 program, whether it's a $5,000 retreat, whether it's a $10 book, whether it's a free podcast or YouTube channel. If you put more thought into how do I market this and get more people to know about it, you will probably do a better job of it simply because you're thinking about it. How can I be so sure to say that? Human brain is the strongest tool known to man. There is no physical object that is stronger or more potent than the human brain. Therefore, if you take yours and you direct it towards how do I market and promote and sell the thing that I'm doing, I guarantee you'll get better at marketing, promoting, and selling the thing that you have. Why? Because you put the most powerful tool known to man to work on that thing. As I've already told you, once you have a baseline level of competence at doing anything, your focus needs to shift to selling and marketing that thing, not just making more of it. You got to promote it. You got to make people know about it, make them notice it, and then move them to take the desired actions towards having it. All of these things, again, you have to prompt, push, and urge people to do these things. Very rare is a human being who on their own volition just goes and does stuff to help themselves. Like, can we all agree to that? Let me say that sentence again. Very rare is a human being who will go and do things on their own volition to help themselves. We all, at different times and for different reasons and for different subjects, need to be prompted, pushed, and urged to do things to help ourselves. People are generally, this is just a human thing, we are generally apathetic, and usually we are sleepwalking in the monotony of our day-to-day lives. Your job as a marketer, your job as a salesperson is to wake people up out of their sleepwalk with a cold glass of water. Any of you saw the movie Wolf of Wall Street? Remember when Jordan Belfort's wife kept throwing a glass of water in his face every time she got mad at him? All right, that's what you need to do. All right, that's what you have to do with your prospects. You got to throw a cold glass of water in their face to wake them up out of the sleepwalk that they're in. Why is this? Because the sleepwalk that they're in does not involve them engaging with your product or service, but your job is to sell that product or service. Therefore, if you can't wake them up out of the sleepwalk, they will never buy your product or service. And then you will have the metaphorical skinny kids, as Zig Ziglar said, timid salespeople have skinny kids because the kids can't eat. There's no food on the table. All right, so your job is to wake them up. You got to get them out of the monotony of what they've been doing, which does not involve buying your stuff, and get them into the process of paying attention to what you have going on, which means you have to interrupt them. It is your job to interrupt. There are salespeople out there who say, well, I don't want to call my prospects at, right now it's 8:25 Eastern time as I'm recording this, or I'm talking right now. I say, well, I don't want to call my prospects at 8:25 Eastern because they might be on their way to work. And then, so call them at 11:30. I don't call them at 11:30 because they might be at work. Okay. I don't want to call them at 4 o'clock because they might be on their way home from work. And I don't want to call them at 7 o'clock because they might be at home with their family. Okay. Well, you got to call them at some time. Either way, no matter when you call them, you're interrupting them. And if you don't interrupt them, here's the problem. They can't get the help that they need. That's your moral obligation to help them. And you can't make the money that you need to make because you won't be able to sell your product because people who need it won't know about it. So your job is to wake people up. Keep in mind that human beings, and this includes all of us as well, human beings rarely do things outside of their normal routines by themselves, save for an emergency situation. When we're in an emergency situation, usually we do things a lot faster, a lot different. We change quick when we're in an emergency situation. Most of the time, we're not in emergency situations. This is why most people pretty much do the same things their entire lives. So it is your responsibility to move people to action and get them out of their normal process. Now, those 3 points said, I'm going to move on to the subject of rejection marketing, and I'll recap all of these points. I think I have I got 3 points here. And hopefully I think we'll have enough time for some open discussion here. So hopefully I'm stimulating some thoughts with you all here, because I'm looking forward to having some discussion here. So if I leave space, you all better engage. So if I leave space and y'all don't engage, then I won't do this again. I'll just take the whole hour and just talk the whole time. So I'm joking, but I'm not. So now let's get into the second part of this, which is rejection marketing. What does this actually mean? Now, I previewed this a little bit at the beginning of my segment, but everybody's heard of the concept of attraction marketing, right? Attraction marketing is when you say and do things and you present things that are basically you're trying to attract certain people into your world because it resonates with them. It's along the lines of what they're thinking or doing or feeling or they're interested in. And you're building relationships by doing that, drawing people towards you. Rejection marketing is the opposite of that. And you kind of can do both at the same time, but you can do this intentionally as well. Rejection marketing is about building a relationship with a certain community by purposely showing and doing things that reject people out of that community. And this is not a joke. This does actually work. I'm going to explain how you're doing this and why you would want to do this. Why would you want to reject anybody out of your world? I'm going to tell you. Let's get into it. Point number one. One thing that always works to attract human beings is scarcity. All right. Scarcity makes the value of anything go up. Circulation makes the value of things, as a general rule, go down. So when people can be part of something that not everyone can be a part of, the value of that thing increases. So, for example, my background is in sports. So when I was in school, I was on the basketball team. I liked being on the team, even if I was actually at one point in high school, I was sitting on the bench. In college, I didn't sit on the bench. But being on the team is valuable, even if you're a guy sitting at the end of the bench who never plays in the game. Why? Because you're part of an exclusive group that not everybody can be a part of. You're walking around your high school or your college campus and you're on the basketball team or the football team or the soccer team or the swim team or the golf team. You're part of an exclusive group that only X number of people can be a part of. You and those 12 people are in, everybody else is out. An in group, when you create an in group that not everybody can be a part of, the value of that thing increases, which means you as a marketer, that means the price of what you offer can go up. Give you an example. I was talking to a gentleman yesterday who's in a program of mine, and his niche is helping dads be better parents to their kids, specifically younger kids. And he's a single father. And we were talking about, his avatar, which is basically his target client, who he wants to serve and all those things. And I explained to him, and first I asked him, is your target audience dads, period, or is it specifically single dads? Because he is a single dad. He said, well, it's for all dads. But of course, as a single dad, he has a specific point of view being a single dad. And I said to him, well, look, if you ever offer any kind of program or mastermind or a retreat, something like that, and you were to niche down into single dads as opposed to just dads, period, like married dads or dads who are in relationships with the mother of their children, and just focus on single dads, the price and the value of what you're offering increases exponentially. Why is that? It's because you're niching down to a more specific group where there are fewer people, and the smaller your group, that there's an in group and an out group, the more valuable that group is. That's what I mean when I say scarcity makes the value go up. So when you reject people with your marketing, here's what's happening. Yeah, maybe the people who are rejected might be a little bit annoyed. For the most part, they'll just forget about you. But what happens is the in group, the people who are in, when you reject other people out, it becomes much more valuable to become part of that group because they know they're part of something that not everybody is a part of. They know that it's not open to or for everybody. This is why you as a marketer, you as a salesperson, whenever you're selling anything, marketing or promoting anything, even if it's for free, you should be clear who this is not for. Anything in your marketing, promoting, and selling. Again, if you're asking people to take any kind of action, even if you're not asking for money, it's a sale. You should make it clear. Let me be clear who this is not for. All right. So if anyone who's selling any kind of, let's say, a program to help people with their business, you'll notice that many people often say something like, look, this is not a get rich quick scheme. This is not a you're gonna just become rich overnight thing. This is not a you just show up and all of a sudden money's gonna fall out the sky thing. If you're looking for that and you're looking for some shortcut and you're not willing to do the work, don't sign up for this program, because that's not what this is. What is that? When somebody says that, that's a disclaimer that's letting you know anybody who's looking for the quick thing and the shortcut, don't come here. What are they doing? They're rejecting out the tire kickers. They're rejecting out the people who don't want to do the work. They're rejecting out the people who are not ready to really strap in and do what needs to be done and get their hands dirty. That is a light version of rejection marketing. So you want to do this. You need to make sure that people know this is who we're for. This is who we're not for. Here's who belongs here. Here's who doesn't belong here. Any of you familiar with Seth Godin? He talks about this a lot. There's a phrase that he uses all the time. He says, people like us do things like this. What is he saying? He's telling you who the in group is, and by omission, he's telling you who the out group is. He's telling you who does not belong here. Because if you don't do things like this, guess who you are not? You're not people like us. Therefore, you don't belong in this group. And you can do it. He did it by omission, but you can do this depending on your personality and depending on your communication style. You can be more overt about this and say it out loud. All right, if you're this, this, or this, don't come over here. All right, you can say that and let people know who you're for and who you're not for. And you will notice that any kind of group, any kind of organization, whether it's a business group, a political group, a social group, anything, the ones that build a big following, and they have, and not just the size of the following, but also the level of commitment of their followers and of their members, the ones that have the strongest commitment and the strongest energy behind them are the groups that are very active in rejection marketing. They are the ones who say, if you're in this group, you need to be aligned with these 5 principles. And if you're not aligned with these 5 principles, do not come over here. You are not allowed here. We don't want you here. They are actively rejecting people out. And that's how they get such strong commitment from the people who are in. So when you are marketing via attraction, you're ostensibly asking everybody who is attracted to whatever you're saying to join in, which can draw an audience and even a big audience. The challenge is when there's no exclusivity, you're asking everybody to join. What happens is you can get widespread connection or widespread attention, but it's not very deep. And you're better off going deep and narrow than going wide and shallow. In other words, to use a different analogy that I like to use, you're better off going an inch wide in terms of who you want, but a mile deep in terms of commitment, rather than a mile wide in terms of attention, but only an inch deep in terms of commitment. Because people who are only surface level committed to what you're doing, they will leave just as easily as they came in. But people who are deeply committed to what you're doing, even if it's only a handful of them, well, they see so much value in it, you can build a whole business around that. So Kevin Kelly, he has an article called 1,000 True Fans, which goes way back to, this is probably about 2007, 2008. He wrote that article. You can find it online. Just look it up. It's called 1,000 True Fans. And then Tim Ferriss, when he wrote one of his books, he asked Kevin Kelly to basically write an updated version of that article, which he did from one of Tim's books. So you can find both of those, the old article and the updated article, online. Just look up 1,000 True Fans. The author's name is Kevin Kelly. But this whole point is, if you go an inch wide and a mile deep, you don't need a ton of people. You don't need 1 million followers. You can have 1,000 followers, but if they're deeply committed, you can build your whole business just off of that. Now, everybody following me so far. So how exactly do you do this? Moving on to point number 2 here. We are talking about rejection marketing here in the second half of this segment. Draw your lines in the sand. What does this mean? Well, it means exactly what it says. Who are you not for? All of you marketers in here, all you salespeople, all you tribe owners, all you audience builders who are listening to this right now, could you answer this question if somebody asked you? I want you to put a yes or no in the chat right now. All of you who have audiences, if you are a thought leader, brand builder, podcaster, coach, speaker, trainer, put a yes or a no in the chat. If you were put on the spot right now and someone asked you who does not belong in your audience, who should not buy your book, who should not sign up for your course, who should not buy a ticket to your event, who should not come to your mastermind, who should not schedule a free strategy session with you, who are you not interested in talking to? Could you answer the question? Could you articulate who does not belong in your world? I want a yes or a no in the chat if you could answer that question right now. So if you have an audience of any size, or you're looking to build an audience, could you answer the question if someone puts you on the spot? Who does not belong? Okay, I'm getting a whole lot of yeses. Okay, everybody is saying yes. Okay, we'll see. All right, now you can do this myriad ways of making clear where the line is. You can say something like, and this can be very simple. You can say something like, look, the minimum investment to get involved in this program is $10,000. All right, so if you don't have $10,000 to invest, this is not for you. All right, that's a way of making it clear where your line in the sand is. You can say something like, this program is for working moms only. So if you're a stay-at-home mom, this is not for you. If you're a working dad, this is not for you, because we said working moms only. That's another way of excluding people. You can say this program is only for CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. So if you're a CEO of a Fortune 1000 company, not you. If you're in middle management of a Fortune 500, not you. So you can say this again by omission, by not saying who is out, but saying who's in. You can exclude people. You can say something like, all right, if you're going to get into our program, you got to have at least 5,000 followers on Instagram. All right, that's a way of excluding people. Also, your ways of operating. This is another way that you can exclude people, because people will see it and they'll say, okay, that's not for me. Some people don't like to hear profanity. So if you use profanity on a regular basis, some people will see their way out of there because they don't want to be part of that group. You can say, look, this is a Christian-based group. So if you're not Christian, this is probably not going to be for you. You can say, look, all of our communication is going to happen via phone call. So anyone who's uncomfortable with a phone call probably won't join in. Or we do text messages, or everything is on video, or you have to come to Dallas, or you have to come to California, or you have to come to New York in order to be part of this. Anybody who doesn't want to do that, they're going to see themselves out. So all of these are ways of excluding people who either don't fit or don't agree or are not aligned with what you are doing. And these are all ways of rejecting people out. And here's the key understanding of this, which you probably already got. You are purposely not trying to be for everyone. One thing that I hear from entrepreneurs, this is usually people who are more towards the starting point of what they're doing, especially when they're creating any kind of product or service or offer, is you ask them, well, who is this for? Who's the person who will most benefit from what you're offering here? And they will give the deadly answer. The deadly answer is everyone. This is for everyone. Who should read your book? Well, everybody should read my book. Who should have your course? Everybody should have my course. Who should sign up for your program? Everybody should sign up for my program. Now, I understand, theoretically, most of us, every human being, if they listened and followed to what you said, they probably could benefit in some way from what you're offering. I get it. All right. Everybody could benefit from everything I offer as well. However, who's the target person? When you created it, who'd you make it for? Who'd you have in mind? And hopefully you should have somebody in mind when you're creating. And this is hard for many people to do, especially when you have this mindset that your product is for everyone. And maybe it is. Look, maybe everybody could benefit from your book. But we're talking human psychology here, and I've already given you in these first 2 points the psychology behind what attracts people to do things, because human beings don't do things because it would benefit them. Human beings do things because they're trying to get away from pain. Usually not because they're trying to get the pleasure, and also because you speak specifically to a specific need that they have in that moment. We are prisoners of the moment. We usually focus on what we need right now in that specific time period, not about what could help us in the long run of life. We are generally short-sighted like that. Moving on to point number 3. We are talking rejection marketing. Number 3, you do your best work when you find the perfect match between what you offer and who you're working with. The perfect match. In the marketing world, this person is usually known as the avatar. So any of you ever heard that phrase, didn't know what it meant? That's the avatar. Avatar is your ideal client, your ideal customer, your ideal reader, your ideal person. Who is the ideal person? Now, I know that your product could probably serve, again, all 8 billion people on the planet. But if you had to go into the laboratory and you had to build your Frankenstein, like your perfect monster of the perfect client, describe that person. That's your avatar. That's the person who can, first of all, they can afford exactly what you're selling. They have the money. They don't have to go talk to anybody. They don't have to ask anyone. They don't have to talk to their accountant. They don't have to meet with their legal team. They can just pay it right now with the card that they have in their pocket right now. They need exactly what you're offering. They will listen to everything that you say, do everything that you tell them to do, and they are perfectly aligned with your way of thinking, with your ideologies, with your principles. They are perfectly aligned. I mean, this person is perfect. That if you had 100 of these in your world, you would have a really easy life and a whole lot of money and a perfect business. That's the person that's your avatar. That's the person you want to focus on. That's when you do your best work. That's when your clients get their best results. And all of your business should be targeted around marketing to that individual. And when the match is not right, it doesn't have to be, I'm not saying not perfect, but I mean not right. When you market and bring the wrong person into your world, everybody loses. Has any of you ever had that situation? I want you to put a 3 in the chat if you have ever had someone come into your world and you sold them something, and it turned out they were like the nightmare client. Any of you ever had a nightmare client? Put the number 3 in the chat. You ever had a nightmare client? They signed up for your coaching program. I'm not talking about they bought your book. I'm talking something where you had to service this person. So whether you were in like any kind of service-based business, training, coaching, consulting, personal training, anything like that, psychiatry, any therapy, anything like that. Any of you ever had a nightmare client where you're like, this person was not worth the money? Put the number 3 in the chat. If any of you ever had a nightmare client. Okay, all right. So all of you have had nightmare clients before. All right. Nightmare clients often happen when we made the mistake of not rejection marketing strongly enough to make sure that that nightmare client did not find us in the first place. And over here at Work on Your Game, those of you who are not familiar with my work, all right, over here, we always bring everything back to number 1. Number 1 is the person in the mirror. So even though your nightmare client probably was a jerk, or they probably didn't listen, they probably were uncoachable, they didn't show up when they were supposed to show up. I get it. Your nightmare client did some things too, but you're the business owner. All right. You're the bigger person. All right? You're the person in charge. You're the leader. So I'm going to put this on you. That anytime you have a nightmare client, there's something that you did or did not do that attracted that person into your world. So that's why I'm putting this on you. If you do a better job of rejection marketing, then nightmare clients will never, ever come to your world again. And hopefully, whatever experience you had with a nightmare client, you put some parameters and some rules in place such that that can't happen again. Everybody get what I'm saying here? So any of you who's dealing with a nightmare client right now, all right, ask yourself, all right, how did this person find me in the first place? And what can I do to make sure that the next one does not find me? So when the match is not right, everybody loses. So you lost because you had to deal with this person. They lost because they didn't get anything out of it. And who knows who else lost? So your company lost. If you have staff, they lost. Everybody lost. The government lost. Right? There's no money is going to get made moving forward between you and that person. So as a professional speaker, for example, there have been times I've taken on speaking gigs where the match was just okay. I didn't feel great about the match. I didn't feel great about the client. I didn't feel great about the audience. And I realized, no, I shouldn't have taken this gig. Even though I took the money, I shouldn't have taken this gig. But when the match is perfect, everything goes great. It feels easy. It feels like it's not even worked. Right? Any of you ever had a perfect client? Put the number 4 in the chat. If you have ever had the ideal perfect client, and you're like, man, this person is perfect. They did everything that I said, everything that I asked they did. They followed through. They are listening to me. It's so easy. Like this person is not even stressing or taxing me to work with this individual. What if I had, any of you ever had a client where you're like, man, if all of my clients were like this person, this would be heaven. This would be perfect. Any of you ever had a client like that? Put the number 4 in the chat. If you ever had an ideal, perfect client. If you are putting a 4 in the chat right now, all right, here's what you need to do. You need to look at all the traits that that individual has or had. Hopefully you still got them. If they're an ideal client, they probably stuck around with you, right? So all the traits that that ideal person has or had, and you need to target all your marketing towards bringing in more people like that. If you put all your marketing towards bringing in more people like that, you'll make a lot of money relatively easily. You may be working, but it's going to feel easy because you're not being drained by these people. You actually feel energized every time you talk to them, every time you work with them, and they'll be happy. And guess what they'll do? They will bring more people who are like them into your world because people like them have friends. And they'll bring more of them into your world. And this is where you want to target your business. So even though there'll be some people who are off target who are going to come in, they're going to have traits that are similar to your ideal client. Why? Because all your marketing is targeted towards that person. You see what I'm saying? And then the people who are the antithesis of this ideal person, they won't be interested because the things that you're saying in your marketing are talking to not them. So when you lose this scarcity mindset that some entrepreneurs have, which is based around a poor money mindset, when you lose the scarcity mindset of there's a limited number of clients or a limited amount of money out there, and start rejecting the not so perfect fit people, you start rejecting them out and keeping them out of your world, the quality of your work will improve because you'll feel a lot better at work. You'll feel a lot better about going to work. The results that your audience gets or your prospects and your clients gets, that will improve, which will make you look better. You'll get much better social proof because you'll have more people getting better results in your business. Your message will land better because you're talking to the right people in a way that you want to be talking to them. So you're going to be getting higher ROI from your marketing efforts. You'll be more excited about what you're doing. And we usually do better work when we're happier and excited about what we're doing. Everybody wins in this situation. This is a win-win-win-win situation. You win, your client wins, anybody you collaborate with wins, the government wins, so they get a cut of every dollar that you make. Everybody wins. All right, so it's not a win-win, it's a win-win-win-win situation. Remember something, folks. Powerful people do not grab at everything that is available. They reject more than they accept. People who get into positions of leadership and positions of power are saying no more often than they're saying yes. And when I say saying no, I don't mean literally saying no. It means they get clear on exactly what they do want and they reject everything that they don't want. Only scarcity thinking, the peasant mindset, grabs at everything because you have this unconscious belief that nothing better is ever going to come around. And this is something that I tell my audience. Do not grab at anything out of fear that nothing better is going to come around, or hold on to something that you don't want out of fear that you can't get something better. You can get something better, but you have to get strategic about it and structure how do you attract the thing that is better into your world. It's not just going to randomly fall in your lap. You do have to do some work to make it happen, but there is a way to make it happen. You just have to get strategic and intentional about making it happen. So with all that said, let me recap the points from both of these mini segments that I did here. 6 points, and then we're going to open up the floor. We got a little over 10 minutes left. So first of all, we talked about expanding your marketing efforts. Number one, people are not annoyed by relevant marketing messages. You don't mind receiving marketing messages from someone, even if you're not planning on buying, as long as you plan on buying from this person sometime in the future, or you have bought from them in the past because you're interested to see what they're saying and what they're doing. And you don't have a problem with that. It's the same thing for your clients and customers. They don't mind you marketing to them ad nauseum as long as they see that message is relevant to them. Again, they might not buy this time around, but they see the market as relevant because they may buy it at some time in the future. So, which means, number two, you need to increase the frequency of your marketing. Most of the time, we do not market enough our products and services. We move on to the next thing that we want to create rather than focusing more on marketing the last thing. And often, our audience doesn't even notice that we marketed something. You think you marketed something. You think you put it out there. Half of your audience doesn't even know you had that product. They don't even know that it's for sale because you didn't market it enough and you didn't stay with it long enough for the message to actually get through to them. So increase the frequency of your marketing and do not be bashful about wondering, well, people might get annoyed because I marketed to them too much. Anybody who gets annoyed because you're marketing, quote unquote, too much, all right, they're not your customers. All right, so you shouldn't be worried about what they think anyway. Number three, think about marketing more. Human brain is the most powerful tool known to man. If you put it to use on anything, you'll probably get better results out of that thing because you're putting the most powerful tool known to man on it. So if you think more about marketing, you're probably doing a much better job at marketing. And the second part here, we're talking about rejection marketing. Number one thing that always works to attract human beings is scarcity. We are attracted to things that not everybody can be a part of. So when you create an in group and an out group, and it's clear that there's an in and an out, people love being part of the in group, and it also increases the value of that in group because not everybody can be there. Exclusivity increases the value of things exponentially. Number two, draw your lines in the sand. Who are you not for? You can do this in many ways. You can say, here's the minimum investment. Here's the person that is for. I want working moms only. You got to be a CEO of Fortune 500. There's a minimum 5,000 followers on Instagram. There are always also with ways of operating. You can, if you use profanity, you say this is Christian based. All the communication happens one way. You have to come here in person. There are certain things you can demand of your audience. And again, when you demand things of your audience, there are people who will be rejected by that. And you want that because the people who are attracted love the fact that you're rejecting other people out. Everybody get it? And number three, you do your best work when you find the perfect matches between what you offer and what you are and who you are working with. When the match is not right, everybody is losing. But when the match is right, everybody wins. So you want to think about your ideal perfect client. Person does everything you say. They can afford to buy what you're offering, and they get the perfect result that you want them to get, that makes you look good, makes them happy, and everybody wins. All your marketing should be targeted to that individual. You will bring more of them in if you focus more on marketing to those people. What you have to do to get into this mindset is you got to reject the scarcity mindset that there is a limited number of these folks out there. There are plenty of them out there, probably more than you can even serve if you wanted to. So if you focus on doing that, you'll probably get more of these clients, and that will help you do more business, help you produce more success for your clients. And in the end, the reason why we show up to work every day, help you make more money. So with all that said, I talked for 52 minutes straight. Let me open up the floor. Who wants to add, ask, share, anything, comment on anything on this subject? The mic is open. Go.
Just want to say thank you. Great stuff. I took as many notes as possible.
Who's that talking?
Marquise.
Hey, Marquise. Good morning. Appreciate you.
I like that when you get hard, like a hard line on what is a yes, and Glenn talks about that too, and what is a no, that you're not grasping and grappling for, anything that comes your way. Because also you can get shiny object syndrome, I call it, where everything can sound exciting, or like you said, you can get the scarcity mindset where you think you need to grasp at anything. When you get really clear and aligned. And also, I like what you said about, when you become a little more exclusive and the people who are paying you or know that they're not being diluted, that the attention they get isn't being diluted by just anybody who comes along. I think those are great points. And honestly, I even thought about that in some relationships. Like, hey, does this girl need to be my friend just because I don't think I can get other friends, or this guy? I mean, it applies to so many things.
That's right, 100%. I appreciate you sharing that, Mary Lynn. Thank you.
And Dre, this is Araya.
Hey, Araya.
Okay. Hey, how you doing? It's so good. Great. Oh my gosh, I was listening to word. And you're right on. You're talking about don't be shy. You're just not marketing enough. And to know who that exact perfect client is, of course not perfect client, but one you really enjoy working with, focus on them. But you're right, you do have to focus constantly. They just have to, get celebritized. People have to know who you are and what you do. And when we think we're being overly done, we're not. We're just being consistent. So you're so right on. We've got to show up consistently and let that client that we'd love to have know that we're here and we can help solve their pain. That was really, really good, because that's what it does in advertising. You don't see a Coca-Cola commercial one time.
That's right.
You see it 1,000 times a day in many different ways. And if you don't want one, you don't buy one.
That's
but
right.
If you love it, it's making you thirsty.
100%. 100%. Thank you for
Dre,
that.
this is Jessica with the Lion Face.
Hey, Jessica.
How are you doing?
Good.
Hey, I really appreciated the extra responsibility on our side to keep taking steps, and when things aren't going as expected, that it's something on our side we have to take a look at, especially if there's things where we're still growing and might have insecurities or questions about. So that was super valuable, especially venturing in how you talked about rejection marketing, because in a way that could be like a trigger warning or trigger word for someone. But the whole point is you're putting parameters in place for the caliber and quality of people you want to be surrounded by, not that everyone sucks. So it puts you in a place where if you want to level up, there's things you have to do that and be okay with it. And with those that are going to go with you will go with you, and it's okay. The others aren't ready yet, and just kind of learning to let go and go with that process. Do you have thoughts on that when it's not as black and white, and there might be people where you're like, man.
Well, first of all, the first thing, Jessica, over here at Work on Your Game, we trigger people on purpose. Okay, so we want to trigger people. If you're triggered in a negative way, then you don't belong here. That's our ethos over here. I'm not saying I'm speaking for BWC. I'm speaking for Work on Your Game. We trigger people on purpose and we get them out. I mean, that's what rejection marketing is about. And not everybody's going to be the ideal person, but your principles as a business should be clear enough that they know whether they're in the right place or not. There should be no ambiguity about that. All right, thank you. Thank you. There was someone else who unmiked at the same time. Who was that?
Good morning, Dre. This is Miss Hattie.
Hey, Hattie, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm just out doing my run for my half marathon next month. But I just wanted to let you know I was listening to you, and it's hitting me. It's hitting my heart. I have to go back and listen to the replay, but I just wanted to thank you because you've also given me the courage to go on. So I just want to thank you.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, and I hope you're going to be ready for that marathon. Where's the marathon at? What town?
It's actually home in Bermuda, and I will be celebrating it during my 70th. I turned 70 last Wednesday, so
Oh, wow.
that was my birthday gift to myself.
Wow, congratulations. Marathon is 70. You're better than me. I mean, I'm not 70 yet, but I won't be running marathons at 70. Probably playing golf. But
well, I'm starting a club. You only can be in it if you're 70.
All right, congratulations. And I heard, thank you. I heard everybody that one of the upcoming BWC events is going to be in Bermuda, but you didn't hear that from me. I heard, but don't tell anybody that I said that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know. Start seeing it. It's my daughter.
Yeah, that's what I heard. All right, thank you, Hattie. I appreciate your share. Anybody else got anything they want to share here? We got 2 minutes. All right, was it that perfect? Nobody else has anything else to share? What I will tell you, though, then while we cover this last 2 minutes, is bwcdaily.com. That's where you can stay up to date on everything happening with Breakfast with Champions. Those of you who were not at the last BWC event in Dallas, which was, what was that, a week ago? A week and a half ago. Make sure you are at the next one. I heard, again, don't tell anybody I said this. I just heard that the next one is going to be another one in the fall. And again, I heard Bermuda is a destination event that is going to be happening in the future with BWC. So bwcdaily.com, that's where you can stay up to date to know when the next events are happening. And what you should do is sign up for the email list that's there, and you'll get emails from our friend Ramon Ray. I don't see him in here right now. He was in here earlier. He will send you emails and keep you updated when the next events are happening, what the event is about, who's going to be speaking, all those things that you need to know about the next event, again, at bwcdaily.com. Last thing I'll tell you about myself, Work on Your Game University is the place where you can work with me directly. That is the only place you can work with me directly. That's where my coaching program is. Some people reach out to me and say, Dre, what are the options for working with you? I tell them there ain't no options. There's one option. All right, workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's the only place. I do send out a daily motivation text message for free every single day. I don't know if any of you gets that message. I think some of you do. I just put it in the chat. If you text me at that number, 305-384-6894, every morning when I send out that message, you shall receive it. One thing I'll promise you about that message, it will help you be focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. So if you have a phone and you have an active plan, all you got to do is text me at that number right now, 305-384-6894, every day when the daily motivation goes out. Because you're a member of my free texting community, you shall receive that message, and you can even respond to those messages and get a response back from me. That is not a bot responding to you. When you first sign up, that is a bot that gets you in. But once you are in, that is not Dre's team. That is not my assistant. I actually do read those messages and I do respond. So don't say anything crazy in there because you are talking to me. So text me at that number, 305-384-6894. Everybody, I appreciate your time. Who is up next? Who am I passing the mic to?
Good morning, Dre. It's me, Angeline Moore. Thank you. What an amazing
Angeline, good morning.
Give it up for Dre Baldwin. What an amazing segment. Woo, 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 woo. I need everyone on mic and give Dre a better send off than that. Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. Let me hear it.
Appreciate it, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, and champions. Welcome to the Breakfast with Champions.
Thanks, IG. We out of here. I got an interview right now.